Hey everyone, my name is Sarah and I'm going to be showing you how to strike or how to do a simple volley using these two materials. We have a youth tennis racket and a regular tennis ball, but this can be modified for beginners. It would be better for them to use shorter equipment. So something like a plastic paddle like this would be good for beginners to use, and a ball like a wiffle ball because it's a little bit bigger and it gives them a little more surface area to work with. For purposes of this activity, we are going to use our youth tennis racket, which is a little bit longer, a little more circular than our adult tennis racket, which is longer and more oval shape, which would be good for 8th through 12th grade students. But this is good for 3 through 5, 3 through 6, or beginner tennis players. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that we're being safe and that we have proper space. So everybody needs to put their arms out and wiggle around, make sure that they're not hitting anybody or anything. My space is limited, so I'm working with what I got and making the best out of it. But as you can see, I can move, and I'm not, as I twist, I'm not hitting anything, I'm not hitting anybody, I'm in my own bubble. So once we are in our own bubble, we are going to place the tennis racket face down. So it should look like that as we look down at it. And first we're going to pick it up so we can get a comfortable grip on our tennis racket. So what you are going to do, you're going to make a V with your hand, and with this wet part, or the V, you are going to grab your tennis racket with the hand you write with. That's your dominant hand. And that's the hand we're going to use to grip our tennis racket. So you should be gripping your tennis racket kind of like this. It should feel like you're holding a griddle, flipping some pancakes on Saturday morning. Not too high, not too hard, not too loose, but you get some nice movement in there like that. So if I walk up, I should just be able to take it out of your hand like that. So nice and loose, we still have our V shape like that, and our tennis racket is facing up. So to get into proper stance, we take our mighty stance. So our mighty stance means our feet are shoulder width apart, and we're going to step back and lean through. So to do this, we take our mighty stance, and then we turn behind us and we lower our racket. So we lower our racket kind of like this. And I call this pet the dog. You're reaching back behind you and you're petting your dog. So you start in your mighty stance, lean back, pet the dog, pat, 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 because he's a good boy. And then we come up like that. Your arm should be bent. I apologize, I just got my COVID shot, so I'm a little stiff in my writing hand today. So we're gonna pat, 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 pat our dog. Your tennis racket should be lower than your wrist, as you can see here. You're gonna pat, pat, pat the dog, and then you're going to step and swing forward. Step and swing forward. So this is gonna look a little different for beginners as they get better. Beginners, you're not going to see a lot of movement in the hips, and there's not going to be a lot of leg movement. Most of their movements can be isolated to their arm. But as they get more comfortable with this stance, you're going to start seeing more hip movement. You're going to see some limited or less limited hip rotations. You'll start seeing them step back. And as they move up to advanced, you will see full step and follow through with your trunk. So that's what we're looking for as we're doing this activity. And our activity for the day is called Crocodile Lunch. So Crocodile Lunch is one of my favorite tennis games to play. And this is a great game to play with a group of students. And what you're going to do is you're going to have your students line up. So while they are in line, they still need to be spaced out. And we are staying in our bubbles because we have rackets and we don't want to hurt anybody, chip a tooth, get hit in the head. That would be bad news bears. So while you are in line, you're going to pretend to pat, 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 pat your dog and move it up. Pat and strike. Pat and strike. So as the students are lined up and they're pretending to pat the dog and strike, I will be lobbing the ball in for them, and they will take those principles, eye on the ball, and they will pat, and when they say they're ready, I'll toss it, and they will strike. Now, hungry crocodile, if they miss, then they've lost a limb to the crocodile for lunch, and he just ate it for lunch. So if I miss, then I'm down a hand, and I can't use this hand anymore. And if I miss the next one, then I'm down one leg. So I have to do it one leg. But if I hit it, I can put that leg back down, or I get my arm back. So each ball you miss, you lose a limb. Each ball you hit, you get one back. So it's pretty, it can be pretty funny once you've had a couple people who missed and they're hitting down on their knees or on one foot. So it's a fun way to get kids comfortable with striking and following through and getting more comfortable with those body movements needed to strike. So what this will look like. I'm waiting in line. I'm done patting my dog. I step up. And since I'm doing this by myself, I'm using a wall. And I lobby it in. And I hit it. Poorly, but I hit it. So I don't lose a limb. But if I stepped up, and I missed it, I don't have a limb. I lost my left arm to the crocodile. So this is a fun little game that you can play with students who are getting, for a tennis unit, who are beginners with tennis. And as they progress, you'll see more body movement. So this activity came from tennisforeveryone.com, and our performance levels for strike were from box 3.12 in our text. Thank you.